Why are house prices so high? Is the market going to crash? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So to go forward, let's go back. 5 years ago, all I heard from sellers is, when is the market ever going to go up? Why are the prices so low? Why can I buy a house right here in Coolum Beach, a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, low-set brick house in a flat area for under $400,000, for $450,000 for something a little bit nicer? When are the prices ever going to go up? That's all I heard 5 years ago from sellers. I didn't have a lot of buyers wanting to buy those properties. In fact, I had a lot of buyers that would try and buy. We would counter slightly higher than what they wanted to pay. Like, I'm talking $5,000, and the buyer would walk away because the house wasn't worth it. So for every market that appears to be a pure seller's market, there was a buyer's market at some point in time. But as a buyer, did you buy during that time? As a seller, are you selling during this time? There's some important things that we need to look at a little bit further. And I suppose therein lies the pure crux of real estate. What tends to happen is buyers tend to buy when everyone's buying. So what starts that progression? Well, we really don't know. We know interest rates are low. We know the economy is relatively strong, but we also have had COVID around, which should have pulled consumer confidence down, but it didn't. So the answer to that question is, we never know when the market's going to suddenly take off and do this. Consequently, we never know when it's going to do this. So I often tell people the time to buy is now if you want to buy. Don't overthink it. Don't think you're paying too much for a property. Just buy and hang on to it long enough to make money on it. That's really as simple as it is. And I suppose the crux of the whole matter is, buyers tend to buy when every other buyer is buying. They tend to think collectively. When they start to buy, all buyers start to buy. And selling also happens about the same way. When someone starts to sell collectively, a lot of sellers start to sell. If there's too many sellers and not enough buyers, that's an oversupply. The prices stagnate or go down. When there's too many buyers and not enough sellers, supply and demand, prices push up. That's a normal economy. And I suppose what causes that is when things are feeling good, when you're feeling good about yourself, when money is abundant, you have a job, you have security, consumer confidence is high, you want to buy. But when that happens, housing prices tend to be up. Conversely, when you're not feeling good about yourself, when money's a bit tight, when you don't want to risk that next nest egg on a property, you tend to hold that a little bit tighter so you don't buy, and that's kind of when we have these flat markets. So I understand why buyers buy when everyone else is buying and why buyers don't buy when no one's buying. I do understand that. It doesn't help to know that, I just understand that. And I suppose ironically, buyers cause the market to become frenetic because they all buy, they all, I suppose, panic buy for lack of a better term, but they all buy together and they panic they're going to miss out. So buyers cause the market to do this. Sellers then get too greedy. At some point, they just want too much. Here's the market, here's where you can list, and they list here and then here and then here. And at some point, collectively, sellers ask too much. Collectively, buyers then hesitate, and that starts that stagnation or that increase of inventory on the market, and that starts things sliding. So when a buyer sees that happen and sees things starting to slide, they go, oh, I'm going to wait till the prices drop more. Now, if you can time that, congratulations, because it's hard to do, but if you can time that peak and it happens here and it comes down and you can buy just here before it does this, congratulations. Not many people can do that, but if you can, that's ideally how you do it. But again, as a buyer, if you try and overthink that too much, you just may never buy. In fact, what's interesting right now, and we're kind of in the second-ish week of January 2022, I see a little bit of a pause in the market. I see the inventory going up just a fraction and the market slowing down just a fraction. That's what I'm seeing right now. Is it a pause or is it an actual slowdown that's going to last? I think it's just a pause. But as a buyer, that's kind of your opportunity to jump in a little bit because you might have more than 2 or 3 houses to choose from and you might have some negotiating power. But what will happen is buyers will also hesitate, and then when the market picks up, then they'll jump back in and cause it to take off again. So, kind of therein lies the problem, and I don't know how to change that. And all that was from my own real estate experience. I've been selling real estate now for 35-ish years. I've been investing in buying and selling property for about the same amount of time, maybe 2 years less. And I've made all these mistakes. I've sold property locally here in Coolum Beach for a price now a third of what I could actually get because the market hadn't done anything for 5 years. In fact, the only money I've really lost in real estate was selling property too early. And I suppose there's a lesson there if you can hang on to it. But the problem was, during those periods, we were paying a negative to the property. Property wasn't going up in value. It was costing us X amount of dollars a year, but wasn't going up by that amount. It made no sense to keep it. And we couldn't see that long forecast of that $400,000 property being worth $1.2 million 5 years later. So I'm going to finish with this, and it might sound a little complicated, but it's a very simple rule. In real estate, it's called the Rule of 72. In a Western country that has a stable political climate, and you're in an area that's not driven by a coal mine or a single employer, real estate tends to go up at 7.2% per year. Compounded, that will double in value every 10 years. So real estate will double every 10 years. So that means in the year 2000, if it was 100,000, by 2010 it'll be 200,000, by 2020 it'll be 400,000, and so forth and so on. But what we see on the Sunshine Coast is we see 5, 7, 8, 10-year blocks where that doesn't happen. Then all of a sudden, 20 years later, it doubles. So it still holds true for that rule of 72, 7.2% doubles every 10 years, but it doesn't do it every single 10 years. Historically, if you go back, it does do it every 10 years, but it may be a 30-year cycle to do it at the 10, 20, and then 30-year mark, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, don't know what to tell you. So that's it for this week. If you're buying property, call me. Happy to help. If you're selling property, I'd love to show you what we do differently, our 11-phase system for getting you the highest price. And if you're a landlord, give me a call and I'll show you what our rental guarantees are. That's all for this week. Next week will be the market watch for the first one for 2022. Goodbye.